Hello, good morning. You're watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Abalde. How are you doing? How was your yesterday? Our yesterday was okay. We were at work doing one or two things to make sure you interesting programs on your television. Yeah, so today too we are back again. It's going to be the last day of the week. It's Thursday, and we are wrapping up this morning. And I am here with two gentlemen, Mr. Momodu Mboj as the co-host of this program, and of course Mr. Adedrame, our landed colleague.
A pleasure always to be here. And I think is this my second time this week? It might be.
I cannot even count.
No,
sometimes I don't track
the week
things.
has flown by. As you said, Thursday is the end of the week as far as this morning is concerned. But, for everybody else, the week carries on.
Yeah.
So, yes,
exactly.
It's a pleasure.
So, Mr. Momodu Mboj, how are you?
I'm all right. I thought you were going to ask me, how was your yesterday?
How was your yesterday?
I mean, we're here. I mean, we survived.
Quite.
You know what I mean? That's all that matters.
Quite.
And, well, you did one or two things you said to prepare for this program. I thought you did 4 or 5 or 6 things.
At least.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's combination of effort. A program like this morning, it's not a one-man show. It needs a lot of hands on deck to make sure it happens. So you do 1 or 2 things, another man do 2 or 3 things
or 4 or
for
5
it to
or
work.
6.
So that's how you do it.
Exactly. That's
division of labor, distribution.
So sometimes even Mr. Ade helped print the running order for us. So he does another thing for us.
Absolutely.
That is true. That
Good.
is true.
So that is what it is. Yeah, so on the program today, we'll take a look at the code as usual. And of course, we'll be talking to Superintendent Maria Majallo, Officer Commanding. Officer Commander Community Policing Unit. The role of community policing. It's important, for us to discuss this, Mr. Adedrame. Community policing, the importance cannot be overemphasized.
Absolutely not. It's a crucial element of, policing. And of course, we know that in some countries they have what they call neighborhood watch, where they work in concert. And they also have people who they're not officially members of the police force, but, they're sort of designated to help. So it'd be interesting to hear.
I have seen a group of young men in one of the communities. They are not police, but at least they are given some power by the police to make sure they report certain things. You understand? Right. Once you see them, you tend to fear. This is the police.
These people are,
so they have the support of the police. We've seen that group
and they carry a certain amount of
as
authority.
Well. Although they don't beat, they don't do all those things. But
neither do the police.
Yeah. So. Exactly.
They shouldn't.
So
I just want to.
They shouldn't.
I'm trying to emphasize that, so that you'll understand. We've seen previously police brutality. We've seen that. So
we're going through security sector reform, so we don't have that anymore.
Exactly. Yes. So Assistant Divisional Fire Officer Brahma Kuyate, PRO and Head of Safety Unit of the Gambia Fires and Rescue Service, will be here. Challenges firefighters face during emergency operations. And the Senior Divisional Fire Officer Masane Fofana, Deputy Operations Commander, they'll all be on the program. Interesting.
And please, in case they don't bring it up, one of the ones that they brought up to us about 3 years ago, and people would say, oh, here he goes again. The fire service told us that the reason they took their time getting to the fire is because we don't have street addresses, and the people giving them directions were not very good. So by the time they got there, it
Mr.
was
Adedrame,
too late.
It's important. You mentioned street addresses. It's very important. You see, when I was in Istanbul, when I landed at Istanbul airport, I did not need any direction. All they did was to send me the address. I gave it to the cab driver, and what happened? He put the map in front of his car. He took me up to my destination. It was 1 hour drive from the airport, but he didn't even ask for anything. He was just going until he got to the gate of that house.
Yeah, I mean, these sat navs, they're very good now. You just type in the address. I mean, some people have said these Google Plus codes that we have stuck on the things. They do that if you want to go from point A to point B. But as we were discussing in the office before we came in this morning, if you're standing somewhere on the street and I say to you, where are you? What are you going to tell me? Look at somebody's Google Plus code. You can't tell me where you are. But if it's a street name, you say, I'm on Ibrahim Abalde Street. Then I know, oh, yeah, I know where Ibrahim Abalde Street is. So it's not just transactional, which is what this thing is. They stick these things on so they can collect your rates.
And you know, life is very easy now. Even with WhatsApp, you can share your location.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm talking about.
Share my location.
But if I don't have WhatsApp or I don't have power on my phone, exactly. I still need to know where you live.
We are not in Turkey. Now imagine Gambia. With us now in our bubble, in this urban, we think that everybody's got this. Actually, the majority of Gambians don't.
A lot of people have simple phones.
They all have simple phones.
But you think a lot of people have simple phones?
No, to be fair, I mean, I've mentioned this statistic before. In terms of smartphones per head of population, Gambia is actually in the top 10. They have between 3.5 to 4 smartphones per Gambian. Yes.
Wow.
It's one of the highest in the world.
Absolutely. But again, look at how much business do we do on our phones.
Yeah, quite.
One of the lowest. The one asked. Absolutely, one of the lowest. So this is it. Let's just understand how we use or what we use these things for. Look, having street names, that's not alien. I grew up in Banjul.
And it's not rocket science either.
I grew up in Banjul.
But we're making
street had a name.
To be,
So that's not alien. It might be alien to the next generation, your generation, not my generation at all.
But we want to improve it, I mean, to make sure it works, because it makes, I mean, getting to your destination easier.
And the thing is, you can have both. You can have street names and you can have these codes.
Of course.
They're not mutually exclusive.
Mr. Adedrame, I still don't understand these codes they stick on our compound gates. I mean, the blue codes with the white letters on it. I still don't understand what is it used for.
You don't know? I said.
That's what he was
They use it to collect rates. All they have to do is they type in the code and they know whether the house that has that code has paid their rates, their council rates, or they might use it for taxes. That's what it's for. To me, but that's not addressing. That's just a kind of transactional thing where they can track you to see whether you've paid your rates.
So you certainly need that for administrative purposes, but for more social purposes, you need street names. Much easier.
Yeah, you know, like I said, if we say, come and visit me, and I say, oh, where do you live? You say, I live at, 25 Ibrahim Abalde Street. Yeah. Even if I get lost or my phone dies, I can ask the guy down the road, excuse me, my phone's run out of power. I'm looking for Ibrahim Abalde Street. They said, oh, there it is. And people can memorize streets even if they're not literate or they can't read, but they will know the name of the street. Even in Sierra Leone, there are people who live in particular streets. They can't read, but they know the name of the street they live in.
There are other locations, they come with their names. I mean, the likes of, let's say, Bambo. I think there was
it's
Bambo.
A whole area.
It's like now, when I fill in the form at the bank.
Bambo, that area, it's called Bambo because of the Bambo nightclub that was there. You have places like Bartes.
But those are areas.
Yeah,
it's not an address.
That's
what I'm saying. When I go to the bank and I see the form and it says address, I just put Old Yundum. That's not an address. Yes. That's an area.
That's an area.
It's an area.
Yeah. So I don't even know why you have all these forms that say address. Everywhere you go, it says
it's not really
address,
helpful.
Well, put your address here.
Put your address.
Yeah. My address is supposed to be my home, my information, and everything.
And one of them, when I came in, I just put Airport Junction, just as a laugh. Are they going to find me there if they need to find me?
Absolutely.
They're not going to find me.
They go to Airport Junction and start shouting, Adedrame, where are you?
And somebody says, yeah, I know him. I've seen him on QTV. He lives there. Yeah. But anyway.
If I'm to direct someone to your house, I'll say just after the bridge.
Well, exactly, quite, which is what I tend to say to people. But honestly, I did say on a serious note that the fire service have complained of this, about this to us. Because I remember in 1 week where we did 4 fire stories, many years, maybe 3, almost 4 years ago, that was one of the things. It was a recurring theme from the fire brigade that, yes, by the time the person has directed us, because they weren't good, they were telling us, turn here, turn there, turn. It was too late. So sometimes we need to be aware of why they arrive late at fires, and this is one of the reasons. not everybody memorizes those blue numbers that they stick on our wall.
Exactly. So let's deal with the African proverb.
People required to memorize that.
No.
I don't even try it. I've seen.
Oh, I thought you might know it off the top of your head.
I've seen X, Y, Z, R.
You should memorize it.
I cannot memorize all those letters, Mr. Ade. So, I mean, the lover sees the smoothness of the woman's skin. The doctor sees the illness hidden under it. It's a North Africa proverb.
North Africa is big. Is it Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, Libya? Where? Tunisia? Anyway, it's an interesting one. I guess when on a kind of deeper level, it's talking about the fact that sometimes people who are close to us, we don't see the faults in them. We overlook some of their worst faults, and it takes somebody else who's not smitten by them to see the worst in them or the bad side of them. But yeah, so you, the lover, you'll just see the smoothness of the skin. Or when Jose Mourinho once had an argument with Arsene Wenger, and they were both defending their clubs and their players, he said, yes, everybody thinks they have the most beautiful wife at home. And this kind of taps into that you see the beauty in the person, and it's for somebody who's outside of that arena to see a different side of them. That's one of
exactly.
But like these things, they have multiple.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to quote from one of the songs. Another man food is another man poison.
That's more than a song.
Monkey no fine, but a mama like her.
Yes, right. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that is what it is. I mean, the thing you love the most, I mean, you seem not to find any faults, you understand? Even if you find faults, you tend to manage those faults. And, even if people are telling you to pay attention, I mean, because of that mutual and that emotional feeling that you have in you, it would be difficult to accept that. Sometimes, I mean, it causes a lot of disadvantages sometimes because people have different attitudes. Probably the person that you feel for, it's a different person. At the end of the time, you might not accept the negative vibes that the individual comes with until it's too late.
As you said, somebody who's not emotionally invested in that person doesn't have to accept the negativity,
doesn't care.
whilst you accept and even overlook them. Mr. Mboj.
As you read the quote, I wrote two words, purpose and perspective.
Yeah,
the purpose.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
The lover, oh, come on.
You know
what's the intention? What's
quite.
the purpose? What would you focus on? Obviously, smoothness of the skin and all of that.
Quite.
But the doctor is doing something slightly different.
Quite.
Isn't it?
Bit more
so the purpose,
and,
absolutely, look for the disease and that sort of thing. So my purpose or intention, whatever, knowledge, determines my perspective.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Well, indeed. No, that's a good one. Yeah.
So, let's be careful with the purpose.
The purpose is the foundation.
Yes.
It's the beginning of everything.
And they both have different.
Yeah.
Is your purpose clear?
And
what is your purpose?
For the lover, we know what the interest is. And for the doctor is not interested in trying to seduce or whatever that person.
That's it. Now, we can push this slightly, a bit more. So what does this mean? Does it mean that in the end, reality is subjective? Depends on really...
And you get it sometimes. You get it sometimes when you hear two people talking about the same person. And because they interact with them in the different settings, they have a different take on them. For somebody, for example, at work, you might be this ogre of a manager who you terrorize your staff. But when you're at home, you're the loving husband and loving father, and that's what your children and your wife know you as. They don't know that when you come to work, you're a terror who terrorizes, his or her staff. So why
are you looking at me?
If not, who would I look at?
Well, I'm not a manager.
My co-host.
I'm not a manager. You're looking at me.
I give it. Of course, I'm not pointing fingers
I know,
at anybody.
but when you said that, he looked at me like this. I mean, our viewers will think Balde is harsh here and nice
and soft at home.
Certain signals.
But Mr. Ade, we've also seen where women will be like, okay, he's not nice at the house, but he's nice outside.
Well, you have that also. That's also a common trait where people do things for, as the Jamaicans like to say, for the eye-seeing of men. You do things for the public because you want to look good to the public or you want to look good to an audience, and yet that's not the real you. The real you is what the person at home sees. You're putting on this facade. I'm Mr. Nice Guy. Yeah. When really you're Mr. Horrible, when you scratch beneath the surface. So you do get that, and you hear people say, oh, you all think he's nice. He's not really. So, yeah, that's a kind of common trait. Yeah. So, yeah.
On the Standards newspaper, viewers, be reminded you are watching QTV this morning. Now we'll head to the newspaper review. Gambia is fourth most peaceful country in Africa. Surprisingly, we talked about this yesterday, and you didn't see Cape Verde on the list.
They did this just to upset me, because I actually wrote to them, and I said that I can name at least 2 African countries that are more peaceful than even the country that they had at #1 in Africa. I think they had Namibia, I think. But they had Gambia 4th. But when you look at the list and the document that came out from this organization, 122 pages, and I went through it. And as people here tease me about being the ambassador for Cape Verde, of course I had to notice that Cape Verde was completely missing from the 122 pages. They named almost every other country in the world. Cape Verde's not on there. Now neither is São Tomé and Príncipe. Wow. 2 countries that are quite peaceful and are in Africa. So you do have to take this with a pinch of salt. I mean, I wouldn't go overboard about it. But and when I looked at it, I mean, they've been producing these reports for a number of years now, and they've never had Cape Verde listed. So I wrote to them yesterday, said, do you know there's a country called Cape Verde? I'm waiting for their response.
What is happiness? What does happiness mean?
No, it says peaceful.
Okay.
Most peaceful.
Peaceful, rather. What does peaceful mean? How do they determine if a country is peaceful? What mechanism do you have?
They have several indicators that they have here. They talk about political stability. They talk about lack of, kind of public dissent and protests and so on. So they have various indicators, and Gambia scores quite highly on those since the transition to, what we call the kind of the current dispensation. I mean, Gambia does score highly on those indicators anyway. I mean, there are sometimes people here get hysterical. One incident will happen and people say, oh, we're back to the days of political repression. But it's so not true. It is so not true. We are not anywhere near that. And so, yes, in a way it is to be celebrated. But as I said, there's a major flaw in this if there are certain countries which are in Africa, which are peaceful, and they're not even mentioned on the list at all. Never mind, are they above or below Gambia? They're not mentioned at all. And that's the thing. But, I think Gambians will be celebrating because there's a grain of truth, more than a grain of truth in it. Mr. Mboj.
Yes, you celebrate, but again, how would you celebrate? All I do is sort of like, I'm more vigilant.
Yeah.
How do I protect it more? I think that is really the key.
And even how do we get to #1?
Absolutely, yeah, stuff like that. So this is it. And relatively so, is it nowhere is absolutely peaceful? Rarely are we absolutely this or absolutely that. It's only relative to the others.
Yeah, this is it.
And really, we've been covering African News Roundup, the problems everywhere else. If we think that Gambia, we've got problems, actually we do. Yeah. But relative to, can you imagine today living in Somalia or Sudan, the Horn of Africa? Yeah. I mean,
and by the way, they had Iceland #1 in the world, this list, and they had Afghanistan last, which I would dispute because it's for 2024. And okay,
Iceland is #1?
Yes. The Taliban, of course, they've taken over in Afghanistan, but Afghanistan's been relatively peaceful since, certainly for the last 2 years. While Somalia, they've got Somalia ranking above Afghanistan, and Somalia is a complete basket case, you know, in terms of, you know, instability.
You go to DRC, Eastern
DRC,
it's all gone.
How can Afghanistan rank lower than DRC? So I have to take this with a pinch of salt, you know. You know.
But the other bit that one discusses, the idea of being peaceful, a peaceful country. So one must really understand what that means, then we try to protect it. You can lose it at any time. Huh?
And I have to say, that, you know, so that because of my sort of background and heritage, once I'd looked at Gambia, I'd looked at Cape Verde, of course I looked at Sierra Leone. They've actually had Sierra Leone at number 5. Any Sierra Leonean reading or watching this, reading that or watching this would laugh, because our elections certainly have been quite violent recently. And there's been a lot of political violence in the country. So for it to rank as 5th most peaceful, you then start to question this whole thing about how did they arrive at, what, did they just sit somewhere and tick a box, or did they visit these countries?
Mr. Ade, probably those things are one of, because, I mean, I've not been hearing issues coming from Sierra Leone.
That's only because you haven't been following. We have not had what you might call a peaceful election in my living memory. So no, it's not a one-off. That's why, you know, when people in Gambia talk about, I say, okay, go to Sierra Leone. Then you'll see how violent and disruptive elections can be. Every year you'll hear about, oh, opposition headquarters tear gassed, people shot, people this. Every year, every election. Wow. So it's not a one-off, not even vaguely a one-off.
Okay.
Yeah, so Gambia, 4th most peaceful country in Africa. We'll take it.
We'll take a look at it.
We'll take it, you know.
Absolutely,
yeah. Medicine Control Agency, I mean, penalized for delaying AKI case.
Acute kidney injury case comes up in the High Court again today at 12:30, if anybody wants to be there. And I believe they have summoned the CEO of the company. I don't want to call the name in case I get it wrong, but it's Atlantic something.
Atlantic
Pharmaceuticals. It is actually.
Is it the importer of the?
The importer.
Of the syrups.
Of the syrups, of the cough syrups. So that person has been summoned to appear in court.
So that he can narrate his ordeal.
Well, his ordeal?
Ordeal?
No, we had the ordeal, not him.
Really?
He can state his case, and he can you know, he will be questioned. So I guess he'll give evidence, and he'll be cross-examined in the case. So it's an important one, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, let's hope for the best. But this thing is definitely unfortunate. I mean, you know, infants, I mean, lost their life to AKI.
I would call it tragic.
You know, it's really,
if I fall and buck my toe, that's unfortunate. But for 60 plus,
wasn't it 60, 70?
Yeah, that's right.
Like that?
Yeah.
That's a huge
for a country the size of the Gambia. That's
so
massive.
It's telling you the amount of medication that people take daily, especially for infants. I mean, probably some have taken it and it didn't cause them harm, because sometimes you can be stronger.
Your system might, I mean, also I think this throws, or for me, it threw a light on something which, again, I've mentioned on this program multiple times. I've been to many countries, and I don't know of a country where people rely so much on the pharmacies for medication rather than their doctor. They feel ill, they go to the pharmacy and say, I've got this, I've got that, and the person behind the counter says, oh, you need this. And, you know, I've mentioned, I think, to Mborg, and I think also on this program, a colleague of mine, Dr. Robtel Paley, when she came here and I picked her up from the airport, she said, and it was the first time I had noticed it, she said, why are there so many pharmacies? As we were driving to her hotel. And I said, are there? And then I started counting. And, you know, and I went the next day, I think I came on the program and I said, on Kairaba Avenue alone, there are 8 or 9 pharmacies. Yeah. That's one street. You know, so it's not a scientific thing, but I think people know that if you look around, on almost every corner. I mean, even where I live, near Coastal Road, there are 2 pharmacies within 100 meters of my house, either side. 100 meters this way, and the other one is not even 100 meters, it's next door. Yeah, they're everywhere. So that's part of the problem, that you would find almost in no case was this prescribed by a doctor. Somebody probably went to their local chemist, pharmacy, and they got it over the counter. And we do that a lot in the Gambia.
Now what I see,
more than most countries.
If okay, for example, yesterday I was you know, my baby, I felt she's not feeling very okay, but she's, I mean, her teeth are coming out.
She's
so
teething.
Yes, exactly. The mom finalized her, okay, she's in this condition maybe because of this, and she went to the pharmacy and got a syrup. You understand?
That's what we do.
I asked her, did they check her? She said, no, the guy said it's the teething. You understand? You never know. Probably there's an underlying condition.
A lot of them are, and I have to admit that since I've come here, I've been to the hospital a couple of times, but I've also been to the pharmacy more times than I've been to, and I've told them what my symptoms were. I mean, I'm an adult, and I can look at, I always look at what they suggest, and I read, you know, where was it made, et cetera. So, you know, you do all of that. But yeah, so I'm as guilty as anybody. I'm not saying I don't do it.
Yeah, I know.
But guilt, as if you've committed something that you shouldn't have. I think that it is not unreasonable to have these things given our condition. How many government facilities are around? How conveniently can I have medical services, as it were, using state instruments, as it were? To be honest. So little wonder that these pharmacies are sprouting all over the place. They serve a need, don't they? Maybe where perhaps we are unlucky is that state institutions, where they should be doing their job, before you establish these things, then you must fulfill certain criteria.
I was going to say, because we don't check. We might see a certificate on the wall, but how many times did we go up and read it and see who does this certificate relate to? Is it the person behind the counter? So we put a lot of trust in them, and some might say too much trust in them. But you're right, given our situation, that's why we do it. But having said that, as I said, I see it a lot more here than I do in many.
So Najobate spreads inspiration from Al Port's transformation of Banjul Port. I mean, you know, I was with the ambassador on Wednesday.
Turkish ambassador?
Yes, we were in his office, we were discussing, and he said to me, Sona Jobate would be doing something for Al Port.
And you didn't come and tell us.
And I said to the ambassador, my boss, Mr. Ade Sona, is one of his stars. He said they've sent coverage letters, I think,
I didn't
for you to cover it.
I didn't.
He said, I believe
we would have been there.
I believe QTV would cover it.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Something got missing.
You know, I said, Mr. Ade will not miss Sona Jobate's event.
Absolutely.
You know?
I love her music, and she's a lovely person as well. Very intelligent. And a very caring person. And, you know, she has a lot of, and when you speak to her, she's got lots of brilliant ideas about, you know, improving things in the Gambia across all spheres. So when she opened the academy, people always assumed that because she was a musician, it was a music academy, but it's not. It's about educating people generally, including, of course, in the arts. So, you know, music, dance, etc., etc. So, yeah.
And this is eerie. Just last night, I listened to Gambia.
Her song,
on sort of YouTube, and then I googled the biography.
Her biography.
Born in 1983 in London. So I was reading stuff about her last night. Now here we are talking about her.
You see,
can you imagine?
You see how it works. You know, and surprisingly, you know, Sona Jobate is loved by, I mean, most of these, I mean, nations. I mean, if she goes to Senegal and hosts a concert, she fills a whole mini stadium.
You should have seen, go on YouTube, you'll see when she went to Cape Verde. They absolutely loved her there. And you know, massive turnout, sold out concert. And she just recently, in May, she did concert in London again, completely sold out with an orchestra for the first time.
Wow.
He did, with, I think, with a 50-piece orchestra. Yeah, in March. It was in March, because I remember, I think it was the day after my brother died or something.
Oh.
So it kind of
You were,
stuck in.
you were there?
I was in London. I couldn't go.
You couldn't go,
because I
yes.
was kind of grieving at the time, so
I
I didn't go. But yeah,
you know, and you know, she's connecting her roots as well. I mean, connecting her families in the Gambia, knowing who and who. You know, I mean, I think that's a good thing.
And her son Siddiqui is a very good balafon player.
Okay.
You know, yeah, he's excellent. So yeah, but we missed that one.
Yeah,
we missed that one.
Minister admits communication lapses in Africa 50 Senegambia bridge recycling deal. Yeah,
I saw the headline. I confess, I'm not sure what this refers to. But it certainly got me intrigued. That I was saying to myself, when I leave the show, I'm going to find out what it's about. Recycling what? So yeah, it will be interesting to know what that relates to.
What Saudi labor deal leaves Gambian migrants in despair.
Yeah, in despair. Why are they in despair about the deal?
Well, Mr. Ade, they're talking about, you know, from rumors, it's not concrete, it's not certain, that the conditions, you know, are terrible. And at the same
for the
time,
migrants.
Yes, are terrible. And some of the agreements, too, they are not being fulfilled according to what they promised them.
What was in the contract.
Yeah, so it's a difficult thing. You know, sometimes leaving Gambia to go to these Saudi nations without concrete, something very tangible.
You mean these Arab nations, not Saudi nations? Well, but because we see them going to Dubai, Qatar, and so on, and we hear of some of the complaints. Yes, we hear of you know, their complaints a lot of the time, and you do wonder how much influence our government has in trying to kind of, because it's a constant theme of complaints since I've been here, not just in the Gambia, I have to say, by the way. In Sierra Leone, it's the same. You hear of these people who mainly they go to do housemaid work, that type of work, and sometimes some of the stories we hear are quite horrifying. So, yeah, I mean, you said labor deal leaves Gambian migrants in despair. You know, what's the vetting process about the people who are employing them, who are recruiting them? All of that, you know, we tend to not want to dig too deeply because we're grateful that somebody's offering them a job somewhere and we can't offer them a job here. So, you know, don't take the bread out of their mouths, as it were. Let them go. But that's not really what we should be doing. They are our citizens and we should care about the conditions in which they're going to be working. You know?
Absolutely, but I wonder, what can anybody really do? Well, I'm sure that you've got like success stories. It's just that we tend to have the
bad ones are the ones that we hear. Yeah,
that's the nature of news and that sort of thing. I'm sure you've got success stories. But here, imagine that you've got your contract, wonderfully written, all the clauses, all the necessary consideration, you know, your preferred consideration, all put in there. Sure. The reality will always be different. Sure, the map of a place is always different from the place itself. So we all know certain social attitudes and norms. How do you legislate against that? And that's really what people face when they go to some of these Arab countries. We all know that. So how do you legislate against that? What do you do?
Yeah, I think for me, I think one of the things I've kind of, if for example, you have just crazy, say, you have 10 recruiting agencies, and if there's one recruiting agency whose workers that they've recruited are the ones who are expressing the most, you know, sort of complaints, look into that agency. What are their practices? Is it that they're kind of skimming something off the top more than and vet them, and if they are licensed, take away the license. If, as I said, it's one thing, but it's a small
So regarding this work agreement, we will try to establish the facts.
I think so.
We'll try to engage the minister, the honorable minister, on this, so that he can take us through as to what exactly is going on. Because, I mean, there are a lot of rumors surrounding this work agreement.
And we are news people who we like to get beyond the rumors.
Absolutely. And 39 Gambians also received their passports to go to Spain for the farm jobs.
received their passports.
Yes.
They flew off the night before last.
Okay,
yes.
all right. They've already gone.
We were there.
That was on the news.
Okay, they've already landed.
They've already landed in Spain.
They've already landed.
In Barcelona. They're going to Barcelona, and they're going to be picked up from there. And we saw people from the Spanish embassy were telling them that they know that there are a lot of Gambians living in Spain, and so that these Gambians will feel at home in Spain. Of course, they'll feel even more at home if they learn the language. But this initial batch are going for 3 months, and they're getting paid €1,000, and it's a trial batch.
€1,000 a month?
A month.
Okay.
And it's mainly kind of fruit
Can
picking.
I calculate how much is the euro now?
You can, yeah.
How much is a euro?
I don't know. You'd have to tell me.
Mr. Are, the euro must be 58 or 60.
It's probably more than that.
80? Oh, okay.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, my
There you are. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. So, again, that times that by 3. I mean, sorry. That would be almost $300,000. I mean, that's a good thing, huh?
So it's a good amount. So
so a euro is going to 80?
According to our expert in the studio.
Man, then my foreign people used to start sending me euros. I miss receiving foreign currency long time. Nah, Mamad, man duñ ma dé yone foreign currency.
Start sending you.
Man gej na receive halis dibi euro bu mu nekké 60. La gej receive halis fele. Up from I miss the last time I received euro from family and friends abroad. Euro was 60.
Oh,
now it's going to 80.
So that must be a long time ago.
Imagine. So you start westerning me, please.
Yeah, but to get back to these people, so yes, they've gone, they're there, and it's a kind of pilot scheme. We wait and see whether they will all come back. People being people, some might come back. I guess if the majority come back, then the scheme will continue. And if the majority don't,
exactly,
then it won't.
So that is going to be the problem now. You see, taking that challenge, okay, I owe it to my country. You are not owing it to yourself. This is country. Now, another family is in the waiting for them to take your place. So it's not yours. It belongs to everybody. You have to take the responsibilities of coming back.
I mean, and we know people are waiting because, as was said in the news report, 10,000 people applied for these few jobs, and obviously you can't satisfy 10,000 people. But so this initial batch of 39 is they are the guinea pigs. Let's see whether they go and they come back. We hope they come back safely. We hope none of them get injured or anything happens.
If they don't come back, that's going to be really close.
It's the end of the scheme.
Well, some will come back. You know what I mean? How many will decide to remain there? So in the end, it's about facts like that. But this is it. Ideally, you know, there's a bigger picture. It's about the Gambia. If I mess up, then I'll mess up potentially for so many others.
Yeah,
you know, but really in the heat of things, we're just individuals.
I pick up that point because somebody, there was a newspaper report back in March of a woman in Manchester in England who claimed that if she came back to the country because she's a UDP supporter, she'd be killed. Total nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
When? Last week or last month?
In March of this year. I remembered it because it happened just before I went.
Because I wanted to establish that. Probably when it was Jammeh's time, she could have said such a thing.
That's the point I'm getting to. And I was picking up on Mboj saying that it's an individual thing.
Absolutely.
People don't care about the Gambia. She doesn't care that that's the image she's giving of her country. Because she wants to be allowed to stay in England. She couldn't care if they think that Gambia is the worst place on earth, as long as it allows her to stay in Manchester. And I wrote to the journalist who wrote the newspaper, I said, how much investigation did you do before you published this story? I said, because for somebody to say simply because I'm a UDP member, I'll come back to Gambia, I'll be killed. I said, it's total rubbish.
That's strange.
I said, this is not the Gambia of those days. I said, do your checking. I told him, I said, you can even contact the British High Commission here in the Gambia ask them what the situation is before you wrote such rubbish.
Yeah, I think some journalists who are always in a haste to publish.
Yeah, but as Mboj says, people care about themselves. They don't give a damn about the Gambia. If people think Gambia is the worst place on earth, fine. As long as the people I convinced that Gambia is the worst place on earth will let me stay in Manchester or Liverpool or in Washington or wherever. People don't care. They really don't care. And that's the danger with the people that are going on this trip. Some of them won't care about the fact that if they go and don't come back, it means nobody else gets to go. They don't give a damn about that. They don't.
Of course, most people won't care.
So we hope they all come back.
Yeah, we hope, because it's a Schengen visa.
And then it can be
at the end of the time you can move to different countries.
It'll be a recurring thing. And of course, for you, the person who goes and comes back, it means the next time you apply to go somewhere in Europe, it's likely that your visa will be accepted.
I'm pretty sure someone already told you step in and you come back.
Well, let's try and be positive. I mean, I know there are people in the office who are very skeptical about them coming back. Let's think on the positive side.
Yeah.
Probably other countries do it.
Probably too. They have. Mr. Ari, maybe you get there and they take your passport.
Do you think that matters?
If they
When I went with the six-a-side football team to Liverpool, I had all their passports. I still have all their passports. They absconded from the hotel.
How many people returned?
Of the 6 who went, 2. The 4 had arranged with somebody, because we saw it on the CCTV camera. They had arranged with somebody to pick them up at the hotel. The Southampton football team was staying in the same hotel. They mingled with them, took selfies, got autographs. And then about an hour later, I thought, where are they? And then we looked at the CCTV. They'd arranged with somebody. They all jumped into this car and the person drove them off. So they'd arranged with somebody to pick them up. And 2 of them I hear are married, and one of them even has a child now. And one of them lives in Scotland. The other 2 are still in Liverpool. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But does that prevent other opportunities for other people?
Well, this was a global competition run by Standard Chartered Bank. So guess which country they said would no longer be allowed to take part in the competition? I'll give you one guess.
Hold on.
That's the price, yeah? In the end, that's the price.
Nigeria.
Because we went there, when we went there, there were people from Zimbabwe and from Zambia and Malawi. They all went back, all of them.
I like Zimbabwe.
All of them went back. The Gambians were the only ones where people absconded. So they said, Gambia can no longer take part in that competition. That's the price you pay.
Of course, yeah.
Oh,
always that's how it is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, thank you very much, Mr. Adi Drame.
Thank you, sir.
For, reviewing these stories with us.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Quite interesting chit-chat here.
Indeed.
We hope to engage you next week again.
Inshallah.
By the way, you're looking fresh. You're looking good.
Thank you. I wish I felt as fresh as I am. Because it's been, since I came back, it's been full on work.
Externally, I'm seeing he's looking good. The proverb, I mean.
We're quite.
Yeah, you see where the proverb comes?
Quite.
So now it depends whether Mr. Ade is feeling that good.
If I go to the doctor might say he's not so
There's
good.
an interior life, isn't
That's
it?
right.
Really,
That's right.
Yeah, so viewers,
Thank you.
very much. At this point, we'll take a short break. After the break, then we head to the 3rd segment of this program. We'll be back.
Kiumoni arti webi na fitora gol no yawi te non kadi no moƴƴi kiumoni a wawa wadde piiji ɗin fow kala ko wonɗa wattu kala a wawa hendade mbuuɗi maɗin e o kiumoni apke song a wawa nattinde mbuuɗi ma ɗum yaltina soda crédit soda kiw paaba soda ko falaɗa te non kadi wawa hen yoɓude himɓe e ko heewi ida wawi kadi nuldude kiumoni yoɓa bilji maɗin te non kadi hendoɗa mbuuɗi ko yaasi nulda himɓe kadi mbuuɗi fi nafitoragol ɗum no weeɓi yahu ka play store ma ɗum ka app store fi wawa fuɗɗade fi heɓugol hen ko laaɓi noddu kiwmoni customer care e 133 kiwmoni suñu kalpe minen udditi laawol ngol si woɓɓe jokki.
Taking a break isn't about stopping. It's about recharging for the next stage. Welcome to our oasis.
Powered by Africa, Oris Energies.
QMoney is back again with its easy-to-use, secure and convenient mobile app that allows you to carry out all your transactions. No matter where you are or what time it is, you can always access your funds. With the new QMoney app, you can cash in and out, buy credit, buy QPower, shop, make payments, and so much more. You can also send QMoney, pay bills, receive international remittances, and transfer cash to others. Just download the app from your Play Store or App Store and get started. For more information, call customer care on 133. QMoney, Sinu Calpe. We innovate, others follow.
Q.
Back. You are watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Abalde. Thank you very much for always following this program. And this program is sponsored by QMoney Sunu Kalpe, the most reliable mobile wallet in the Gambia. Send, receive money. You can send to Senegal, and you can send via QMoney from Senegal via Orange Money. And of course, you can top up. You can also do a lot of things. The P-Link, you can link your bank accounts as well with QMoney Sunu Kalpe. Safe, secure, fast and reliable. Now let's move on to the challenges firefighters face during emergency operations. And we have Assistant Divisional Fire Officer Ibrahim Kuyate. And of course, we also have a Senior Divisional Fire Officer Masane Fofana in the studios with us. Gentlemen, you are welcome on this program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here to discuss on this significant topic, because fire should be everybody's business, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can venture into something and spend a lot of money into that, one day being engulfed by fire. So it's important for us to discuss how to prevent and what are your challenges as well. Because if we do, if we invest at this side and you people have challenges too, it's going to affect everybody. So we just want you to take us through how important is it important for us to discuss these challenges. So I don't know who's going to start among you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Balde. I am, as you said, I am SDO, Senior Divisional Fire Officer, and also the Deputy Commander of Operation.
Okay, sir.
For the Fire and Rescue Services of the Gambia. Fire is a friend, good friend.
Yes, good friend.
Fire is the worst enemy.
Wow.
Yeah. Because one, let's say in 5 minutes, what fire can destroy in 5 minutes, that's huge. Right. So every minute, when fire occurs, every minute there is something, impact that is going out. So it's a serious thing, but it's a good friend also because we cook.
Yes.
You know,
nothing works without fire.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, that's why it has these three, you know, triangle of it. They say the fuel, the air, that's the oxygen. Okay? And
something that burns.
Something that burns. These are the three things, you know, that will add the heat. These are the three things that make fire.
True.
Oxygen, fuel, something that burns, and the heat.
True.
When you combine these three together, fire will come. All right. But some fires don't come on that. Electricity, electrical shock cycles, and so forth. You know, which is our problem nowadays. It's the big challenge.
Because most of the time I hear, what is the problem? What have you concluded when it comes to the incident of this fire? They say electric circuit, electric problems. Sometimes they say, you know, electric issues. You know, those are the things that you hear.
Yeah, for the greater Banjul, and I can say for the whole country, when you know, use our statistics, our data, electrical circuit will get around 70% of the calls that we receive or the fires that we fight. You know, it's true because one, the network, that's the electricity network. Two, It's how people protect or present themselves with this thing. But, wiring and so forth.
Okay. Okay.
So this contributes a lot.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Mboj, you engage Ibrahima as well.
No, let them respond.
Yes.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Mr. Balde. I am Assistant Divisional Fire Officer Ibrahima Kuyate. I'm the Public Relations Officer, but also Head of the Safety Unit of the Gambia Fire and Rescue Services.
Okay.
Like you said that, there are a lot of fire breaks happening in the country. That is very true.
So I just want to establish something.
Yeah.
You're now the public
relations officer
of the Gambia Fire and Rescue Service.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, party is moved.
Yeah, is moved to HR, and also the director of press.
Okay. We just want to establish this because we
we
worked with the PRO.
Exactly for years. Exactly, he is the director of press.
Okay, nice.
And then director of HR as
wow,
well.
Great, nice.
He's still my boss.
We did a lot of programs together.
Yeah, exactly. I remember having a program with him. Yeah.
Yes. And congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Balde.
You people are doing good job, Mr. Fofana.
Thank you.
So take us through. Sometimes they talk about bad roads can also hinder response. You know.
Yeah, it does. Looking at the height and weight of our vehicles, it needs to be on a road that can accommodate it, in size, and then also even in the height, because you go to some settlements where you don't have the appropriate height for our vehicles to go in. For example, the markets, even though they were built in a standard form, but over time it was spaces were encroached, and that led to the diminishing of the height that is suitable for our vehicles.
Okay.
That is real. And again, also you go to some roads as well where you have they are very narrow, or you have people having the attitude of dropping heaps of sand and gravel
on the road.
On the roads, exactly. These are serving as deterrents for access to emergencies when we are actually responding. These are all obstacles that we are facing daily, and then I think these are simple things that can be avoided because it is people, it is us who are doing these things. These are uncalled for. Coming back to the common causes of fire outbreaks in the country, my boss has said electricity. Yes, electricity itself is not the problem, but because of the way electricity is installed in our homes, in our offices, that may lead to the actual starting of these unwanted fires in such places. Yes, if we want to go for an electricity, now that the expansion is very high, many people are going for it because there is a need. We all know what we use electricity for, which is different from one person to the other. But the main reason is that, the actual fact is that electricity itself is not the problem, but the way we install them. And even before installing, people have to go for quality electrical materials. This is very important. You have many standards in the market, but we as a department, we always people to go and buy the BS, that is the British standard. This is of a very high quality. I don't want to do marketing here, but we have to be realistic.
I heard about it.
Exactly.
We have Dubai, we have the British.
The British
sometimes they'll tell you, don't buy this, buy that one.
Yeah. But they differ in prices as well. Quality is always expensive. But I think you go for quality materials
and save yourself.
And save yourself, have your property protected, than going for cheap materials that are less cost, but also they can lead you to situations that are uncalled for. You end up losing your property or lives are endangered. And from there you go to those that are doing the installation itself. So many people are on the street in the markets who acclaim themselves to be
electricians.
Yeah, electricians.
Right.
Yes, but then I think you will still go for somebody who can do the installation because you need that safety and then peace in your homes or and in offices. So, but again, there are times, Gambians, we sometimes don't want to pull out money. Maybe because of our financial.
When I was doing the wiring of my house, my dad and the electrician, they were busy telling me we need to get something like a box. Where you put all the, I don't know, the sockets, I don't know the fuse, I don't know this. So I was like, oh, come on, I'm spending a lot of money, buying all these things. Why don't you just wire it straight so that it goes to the meter, we have electricity, than putting different. But there was a day I was in the house, I don't know what happened, there was a short circuit.
Yes.
And that thing they said I should buy,
trip off, yeah.
it trip off,
yeah.
and it switch off,
exactly.
it switch off everything.
That was good.
So I was wondering what happened, but that told me this is the reason why I said we should have get this thing.
Yeah, it's a circuit breaker.
Yes.
Because when anytime the electricity after the the meter misbehaves,
yes,
then
so
it will be trip
so
off.
it will detect it and switch off everything. So that was good. I think people need to get those things.
Yeah, these are circuit breakers. They are very important.
Otherwise, it would cause harm.
Yeah.
So Mr. Moore.
Just very quickly, the electrical causes of fire.
Yeah.
We've been covering sort of fire incidents for a while now. And one thing sort of I was struck by was in each of these incidents, when you talk to people affected or people around, witnesses, immediately they'll blame electrical fault, even without an investigation. People just assumed electrical fault.
Yeah.
So we have often wondered in the office whether the fire services would do an investigation. Is it standard practice that with fire incidents you do an investigation to actually find out the facts, not simply speculate?
Yes, we have a unit that is responsible for fire investigation. We call it the fire investigation unit. But also the crews that are responding to fire have the capacity to establish the cause of every fire that they have attended. The problem here with us is that people are good at speculations. I think it is the chief fire officer who should always establish the cause of a fire, because at the end of the day, he's the one who is to sign, and it is that signed document that authenticates, that verifies a particular fire as has happened as a result of a particular factor. So if somebody is there because he or she has experienced fire outbreak and then come to tell maybe a journalist that this fire is as a result of an electrical short circuit, it will be very interesting. We don't rely on them, and also I would urge you people to always come to us so that we can tell you, because you go to social media, especially social media, you see a lot of people talking about causes of fires that they don't have knowledge of. Fire investigation is very technical. You need to be an expert to do that. There are several factors that you have to put into consideration, and you have to analyze as well as to know that yes, this is the actual cause of the fire, especially if the matter is to go to court. There are times, certain fires can be, can be of an interest to certain people. So there, it is not the speculation, but it must be an authenticate document from the chief fire officer.
Is it standard practice after any fire incident, you write a report on that fire? Is it standard practice?
Yes, every fire that we have attended to is documented, and the cause of the fire is established. We have it on our data, and it is archived.
That's it.
For references.
I wonder, do you work with other sectors in the sense that perhaps once you've seen perhaps a certain pattern emerging, maybe this is an piece of information that you must give to other government agencies in terms of policy making?
Exactly.
Because earlier on we talked about people buying materials of quality and all of that. Yeah. But there must also be safety standards.
Exactly.
Whether I like it or not, I should be made to do certain things.
It is, like you said, policies are very important. It is policies that can enforce somebody to do something. But when we don't have such things in place, it will be difficult. Yeah, it will be difficult. And then, like you said, yes, we are very interested in knowing causes of fires. I said, I'm head of safety unit. And what we do in that office is to go and then inform people, to sensitize people. This is what we do. This is why we are here. So I'm putting on 2 caps here, but also I have a whole team, and also teams at stations as well, who are going to schools, who are also on radio stations, to inform people, to sensitize people, to educate people. Because you must know the cause of a fire, you must know the pattern of fire outbreak, so that you can use that as an information to tell people. Because we can't sit to wait, fires happening every day. Like my boss said, anytime it happens, there is something that is destroyed. Not even the emission of the toxic fume to the atmosphere has some consequences on the ozone layer.
Exactly. So we are running out of time. Yes.
So we were just beginning to have fun.
Exactly. So what advice do you have for the public, Mr. Fofana?
Thank you very much. Really, fire service department is for the Gambians and it's for the Gambia. We have constraints. Let people bear with us. Our water tankers are only 1,000 liters, most of them. 1,000 liters, you go to a huge fire, you will blow it in less than 2 minutes. It's finished.
Wow.
So some will say that, well, they come without water. But officers and the government is doing very good, bringing 6,000 liters, 5,000 liters from partners outside, like Turkey, Startup Gambia, that's the Canary Island NGO, and others are helping to bring bigger tanks that carried about 7,000 liters, 6,000 liters,
So are the tanks here? Do we have them?
Yeah, we have them. They are operational. Okay. Yeah, they are operational. We are having few of them, but most of the tanks that we have are only 1,000 liters. Okay. So this notion of they came without water is definitely burning us. You cannot leave your family at home, come and watch an empty fire tank. Then they call for emergency. You rush to that fire with empty tank.
No, that's not possible.
We feel it.
That's not
we feel it. We are responders.
I can see your people. They are even ready. Even their GIAs are always ready. Once there is emergency,
we are always on standby. So this is a challenge. And even our chief fire officer, we always think about it. How would that notion go out?
So what we do, we don't need to think about how people think. We just need to do the job.
Do the right thing. Yes. Do the right thing. Yes, and it's unfortunate that we are running out of time now, because we were going to talk about this access.
We can take another 5 minutes if you want.
Yeah, that's it. Particularly the access. You know what I mean? How do we design our roads? Where can people use? Do we think about safety? In case of an emergency, where would the ambulance? It could be the ambulance. How do we deal with that? And even street names. Isn't it easier to have street names and just call you? Come to Grand Street. What do you think about that? What do you think about that?
It's very important to do that. We are serving the whole country. You go to other settlements, the vehicle cannot pass. You have to come back whilst the fire is on. It can't wait for you. So you have to look for the easier way to go. Let's go to the traffic. Vehicles will have the horn coming. People.
And
they're still there. You touch them, democracy. So the drivers also have to be very careful on that. Let them give us way. Access is very important when there is emergency. You don't know the house they are going to fight, whether it's you. It's yours or your relative. So that's very important. Either it might be your relative or your friend whom you know. That's where the firefighters are going. We are always on standby. But as you said, access is a problem.
True.
Go to these provincial settlements, there is a fire, it's a problem.
I wonder if there is, unfortunately, I'm not paying for it for my Sarahule kids, if there is a fire incident in Gambisara or Numuyel, how do you manage to maneuver those little streets? Sarahules, the way they build is terrible. They should change that.
something more serious. Something more serious that he said.
Yes.
If you touch them, democracy. You seem to be blaming democracy, but really what you should be blaming is planning, poor planning. We do not plan our towns well. So this logic of having ambulances or fire services, they imply a whole structure of relationships.
People will spend,
which we don't have.
People will spend millions on their building without no access road.
Yes.
Exit for that in case of fire.
Wow. But whose fault is that?
People don't think about it.
Let's distribute now accountability. Whose fault is that? Certainly the person who did, but who else? Or are they the only people who are faulty? Who else?
Yeah, there are partners.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are partners who are contributing to that. When we come together, we can solve the problem. Yes.
What do you have to say about that? Is it democracy or planning? What do you blame?
I think democracy is very important.
It's a good thing.
When we all go to practice democracy, there is no much problem.
Absolutely.
Everybody will be on your street.
Exactly. You do what you are supposed to do. You don't go to do something that you are not supposed to be doing. So democracy is very important, and then we have invested in that. But one thing I would always emphasize on is that we have to have a shift in attitudinal applications. You know, so there are times you can't just understand where people are refusing for us to access scenes is so interesting. We are called. We are called. You find people parking their vehicles. You see people on phones when we are, applying to emergencies. Giving us, obstacles or serving as obstacles to access to these things are uncalled for. And then again, you also mentioned something like, if I can recall very well, that people are not actually, planning.
Absolutely,
ready to plan. Yes, there is a partnership. When you want to build, yes, you have the capacity to build this, but you should go for an engineer, somebody who can design the building with safety guidelines. This is very important also.
There are planning
but it's
laws,
like again, it's
planning regulations.
It's democracy. Yes, it is my money that I want to invest so I can build anything. You see story buildings here, 2-3 story buildings with burglar proofs. How do we expect?
Can you imagine?
Yeah. Who would we?
2-3 up.
With burglar proofs. How do we expect?
You see, when I was doing my house, in front, it was space for burglar proof.
Yes.
But later I calculated. I said, how about if there is fire? How can I rescue some of these things? So I left it. I didn't put any burglar proof. I just made it like that. I left it like that.
Yes.
So let's talk about the hydrants.
Yeah, interesting.
Yes, let's Mr. Fofana.
Yeah, hydrants are our problem. If you look at the area, the AOR of, let's say, KMC is big, density populated and so forth. But we have only few hydrants, here. Hydrants, we use them, but we don't own them.
Okay. Oh, you don't own them?
No, we don't own them.
The council.
It's NAWEC.
Oh, NAWEC owns
it's the NAWEC that owns hydrants, but we don't own them.
So NAWEC, they are the ones that fix them?
Yeah, that fix them. And we use them.
Okay.
Yes, we use them. So that's how. But so many hydrants were here before. You come to the road construction, some have gone. As he said, planning and involvement. We have to consult each other. This is fire service. They need hydrants. Where and do they need them? That's why those who donate us those vehicles, they carry only 1,000 liters. Because every 100 watt meter, there is a hydrant. Exactly. So they don't need that big trucks to move. Okay? So KMC alone, we have very few. Very few. Banjul presently is a problem. You have to come out of Banjul.
To go get water?
To mile 2.
Wow, that's where you have the hydrant?
Go inside. Because of the low pressure, all right?
Imagine the fire is running.
KMC, from Westfield, there is one, I remember, there is one at Westfield. You cannot have it up to until you enter in Serekunda fire station.
I have seen one around, is it Marsengelo? Backwater end?
Yeah,
it seems as I saw one there.
Yeah. So, but as I'm speaking, we have a partnership with NAWEC right now. We are working on it, and we are having meetings so as to improve on these.
Please, you have to. You have to engage NAWEC.
Yeah.
Time to time engage them.
Yeah.
So let's talk about finally. This is going to be the final question. Fire service, Gambia Rescue and Fire Service. When you talk about their name, the mental picture that people have is fire. But you have a lot of things that you do.
Absolutely. But before you come to that, just before this is my suspicion, yes? We know, what your problems are. They're all over the place, your relationship with NAWEC and all the rest of it. But your capacity to provide solutions, isn't it? Isn't it heavily compromised by lack of resources, lack of this, lack of that? when I identify a problem, I really want to get a solution to it, if you know what I mean. But again, when you lack all of these things, then you really cannot do your job.
Yeah,
your response?
Yeah. In a sense of lacking, I think what we need from the central government, yes, we are under the Ministry of Interior. The ministry is doing their part. The government is doing their part. I can tell you.
And are you doing your part? Are you using the resources, the
yes,
little resources you have wisely?
Yes.
You must do your part as well.
Yes, we are doing that. You see, one fire engine is costing 25 million.
Dollars.
Of 1,000 liter, I mean.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. The small.
The small one is $25 million. You know, so we are partners in this. Yes, we are the institution. The government is looking things and bringing them to us for us to use it. And we are doing this. You know, we are doing this very well. We have 13 fire stations throughout the country. Still, we cannot cover the country because the department is expensive. It's expensive. 25 million, you buy that and take it to my village, Kuntauru. So from Bansang to Farafenye, there is no fire station.
Okay.
Okay? From Bansang to Farafenye,
yes.
No fire station.
No fire station.
Yes. Okay, from Laminkoto,
yes.
Okay, to Bajakunda. There is one fire station at Bajakunda. So from Bajakunda, you will drive up to Laminkoto, up to Farafenye.
It's far.
So we are even encouraging communities, you know, to come. Like Kudang, they give us a land, they contribute, buy cement. We send our engineers there. They are moving block. They want to build their own station and bring their own truck. We supply them with manpower. So
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's, you see, community collaboration.
Exactly.
It's very important.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. But I'll just push just a bit more.
Yeah.
Now, given the constraints that you face, what you've just said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate how much you can deliver? You've given me all of these issues that you're facing. And when it comes to providing solutions, you depend on so many other things to come right. In the absence of that, honestly, how much of what you're doing are you really providing?
Fire service is a very noble job. You don't go to the fire at the end, you ask the person to pay you. You may lose your life there. Yeah. This is what you sign. Many things are involved. Gas explosions, so many toxic things you can inhale. You go with the sickness, TB and so forth. You know. So it's a very professional and noble job. Okay? Our source comes directly from the government, central government. They provide everything. We are the end users as you recruit yourself into the fire department. Okay? So challenges are there, as you said. And Fire Service Act is 40.
Since 48, it was formed.
You can respond. You will come
1948.
Yeah, so quickly, we are now. Yes, we are now exhausting a lot of time.
So what I want to say here is because we've realized our capability when it comes to resource, you know, in areas of resources and also manpower. So what we are doing now is that we are more proactive. Now that we know we have limited resources and then there is no much stations to cover, because when you go to CRR, the whole CRR you have one station. You go to URR, we are looking from URR from Basse, and then we have 2 stations, Basse and then Bajakunda. You go to NBR, you have 1. So we are now more proactive by sensitizing, educating people so that we can be preventive, conscious. This is very important, and it is really giving a dividend.
Thank you very much, PRO and Deputy Operations Commander Masani Fofana for coming on the program. Gentlemen, it was definitely a very interesting topic, and you people, you nailed it well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we hope to engage you again.
No problem.
Because this would be everybody's business. You know, fire can be a friend, but it can be an enemy.
Yeah, definitely.
So viewers, Mr. Mboch this is the end of the week for us.
Absolutely.
We'll be back here again next week, inshallah.
Until next week.
For another This Morning. Enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye.